We are going to stick with the NBA. And a lot of people talking now, two teams that some people had meeting in the finals. The Lakers with LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis, not to mention Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, a host of others. And the Brooklyn Nets, who at that time, beginning of the year, had not only Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but James Harden. So two star-studded teams, and neither one of them is playing as we prepare to enter the second round of the playoffs. And Rob Parker, I want to know, which team, Lakers or Nets, do you think had the most disappointing season?
I know people today will say, it's the Nets. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, but it's not. It's the Los Angeles Lakers because, Chris, we know the way that the playoff system is set up. We play 82 games to eliminate basically 10 teams. 20 of the 30 are involved in the play-in and the playoffs, right? So 10 teams are eliminated. And while both of us said that we didn't think this would work, Chris and I never could imagine, Chris, that they wouldn't make the play-in or the playoffs. I mean, come on.
Right.
Not even me. I said they wouldn't, Chris, later on in the year, right? In the final 2 weeks, I said it. With the way they were playing, they hadn't won back-to-back games since January. Until the last 2 games of the year, they won back-to-back. So I can sit up here and say, oh, I knew this was a disaster and they weren't going to make. No. Anybody, if you show me the Lakers not making the playoffs, I'll give you credit. Because there's no way I could have believed.
I don't know that anybody. I'm sure there's somebody out there, Rob, but did anybody predict they wouldn't make the play-in?
Chris, that you couldn't believe that. Not to start the season. Even with Anthony Davis hurt most of the year, Chris.
Right. You still would have thought, well, they're going to make the playoffs.
Don't you remember when we talked about it and it was like the Pelicans and the Spurs, the Spurs can't catch them. They're in a good position.
Right.
They got 2 games lead. All they got to do is right? We talked about it.
Yeah, and that was incredible.
So I think that's the bigger one. And when you think about the season that LeBron James had, he averaged 30 points, Chris. He had an unbelievable season in year 19. And it didn't impact winning. Shocking. And I just gave you the stat. They didn't win back-to-back games since January 7th until the final 2 games. With LeBron James on your team? Forget about Anthony Davis. And Westbrook, Chris? Carmelo Anthony, I know he's off the bench. He ain't a starter. They couldn't win back-to-back games. Come on, that's hard to believe. I'm going to say it's the Lakers. I just am.
I mean, it's the Lakers because they didn't make the play-in. At the end of the day, at least the Nets gave themselves a shot. There's an argument for the Nets, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But it has to be the Lakers. Even like Rob said, even though we knew it wasn't a good fit, you couldn't envision them not making the playoffs. And that was incredible, that the level of their futility. And so I'm with you on the Lakers. And there was nothing good to nothing to feel good about with the Lakers at all. I mean, yes, LeBron had a great year individually, but it was just such a bad season. I mean, Westbrook was so ill-fitting that every night, Rob, every morning, it just seemed like it was killing Westbrook everywhere. It was just he's talking about Westbrook, and it was just an ugly season all the way around. Now the Nets was too. And Rob, I think the argument, if you wanted to make an argument that the Nets season was worse, I think it would be based on, well, the expectations were higher, right? And I might argue that the Nets was worse had they not made that trade for Ben Simmons. had they kept James Harden and they go into the first round
I agree.
with Harden, right, Kyrie, and Durant, because we would have really been thinking they can win the championship. Like, they really got a great shot to win the championship. And if they went out like they did, then I'd say that would be more disappointing. But overall, it has to be the Lakers. And you can also, and I get it, you can do it with the Lakers, Anthony Davis's injury and all that. But
even with
the
that,
Nets
Chris,
season
right?
was so disjointed, right? Kyrie in and out, not playing, then they finally bring him back. Harden leaves. Like the Nets, you can point to more excuses.
You can. And
right?
I'm not going to bring Chris. Joe Harris lost for the year. We could go on and on and on, and they have some issues. And they lost. They got swept.
Ben Simmons. So you basically just gave James Harden away for Seth
nothing.
Curry and I can't even remember the other guy. Drummond. Yeah.
That's what you did basically.
Right. So you knew that was going to be an L.
So you got nothing from that. And with the Lakers, and we get the Anthony Davis, he did come back and play, Chris. With them.
Right.
He did.
Right. And they didn't play well with him. They were 11-10 when he and LeBron played.
Which they got to be better than that.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, Rob G thinks it's definitively the Nets. No surprise.
Laker homer.
Lakers, Lakers
Laker homer.
It's ridiculous.
What color are your pajamas at night? Purple and gold, Rob G?
You know what? I only got 2 words for Chris and Rob right now. Stop it! You guys are so hell-bent
I'll give you that.
on getting
First
off.
good joke. It only took 4 years, but you finally made a good joke on the icon.
It sounded good.
I've been practicing. Me and Alex have been working on it. No, but you guys have been so gung-ho on the Nets for 2 years, basically. And when it goes down with the fizzle, I've never heard you guys back off on a take more meekly than you have on the Brooklyn Nets. You guys were calling them.
Meekly? What do you mean?
Because if it was anybody else, if it was a team that you guys were not so high on, you'd be killing them. Like, you guys took every opportunity to kill the Lakers at every chance we got. Because I remember having production meetings where we were saying, hey, we got to get this Lakers slander out of the way early because they're not going to make the playoffs. Like, we're not going to have a reason to talk about them anymore.
I think that was Rob, not me.
No, that was everybody.
But hold on, Rob G. Here's the deal. They lost James Harden.
And
like we were praising them when they had Harden.
They had the 3 pieces, right?
Okay, so if you're saying from Harden when this team came together with the big 3, it was a colossal failure. Because they didn't even like get a shot.
Right.
They never even played. It was somewhat reminiscent of Kobe, Dwight Howard, Nash, and Gasol, right?
It never happened.
Because they never even got on the floor together for the most part. So if you want to say that, I'll kind of give you that. But I'm just talking about on the court. When they did end up playing, the Lakers were a much, much bigger failure. That's kind of what we're
Chris,
saying.
you kind of made the point for me in that outside of Laker fans, most people in the media and the national media thought that the Lakers had a chance to win the championship. You guys all panned the Westbrook trade.
We didn't
and for
think
rightfully
that.
so. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. 70%.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you real quick. Did you think they had a chance with Westbrook? I don't remember your exact
you know what?
take.
I thought that, I wasn't fully on board with the move, but my confidence was Westbrook will get him through the regular season, LeBron and AD get him through the playoffs.
Right. Okay.
That was my idea. Obviously, it did not work out that way. But with the Brooklyn Nets, it's not just the media who was in on the Nets with Harden, Kyrie, and KD. It was the GMs. It was the NBA players.
Everybody.
70% of NBA GMs picked the Nets to win the championship this season.
But again, that was when they had Harden.
And that's what makes it so disappointing is it's not like it got derailed because of Kevin Durant's injury or because of, whatever. It's because those 3 guys botched it themselves internally. KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, who all came together singing Kumbaya. When Kyrie didn't get the shot, that just threw a whole monkey wrench into everything. Suddenly, James Harden's upset. Suddenly, Kevin Durant has to, defend his acquisition of James Harden, and then it leads to him getting traded. So it's not just that they got swept out of the first round. It's that their expectations were so much higher than the Lakers were, and they
let me
failed.
ask you this. That's fair, but let me ask you this part.
Sure.
only 10 teams were eliminated from the play-in, Rob. like
Right,
seriously.
right.
Forget about making the playoffs, Chris, not being a top 6, right? The play-in. The San Antonio Spurs were out. They made the play-in. How many games? 15 games under 500 or whatever the number was?
Oh, something ridiculous, yeah.
Like, think about that they couldn't even make a play-in with LeBron James averaging 30 and Westbrook, a former MVP. Chris, his numbers weren't, like, just if you look at them in a vacuum, weren't terrible. Am I right? Like, you just looked at them.
People will look back years from now and be like,
not even, like,
Westbrook
realize
wasn't that bad. 18,
Exactly.
7, and 7? Yeah.
Like Rob G, and for them not to even, and then to think that those guys couldn't win back-to-back games for 3 months?
I mean, didn't the Brooklyn Nets lose 15 straight games at one point?
I think this year?
Yeah.
They lost
They had
11
a
in a
bad
row.
run. I don't remember what
It
it
was
was.
11 in a row
Yeah.
without KD, yes.
I
One of
think
them was
we're
the
kind of
Lakers.
arguing two different things. I think it's kind of like in the micro, it's the Lakers. In the macro, it's the Nets.
Yeah, that would be fair.
Right?
I
Because we just never got to see the big three. And now it's gone, and we never will see it. So I'll give you that, Rob G.
Well, you're never going to see the Lakers' big
wildly
three either.
disappointing. Yeah, but we didn't expect as much from their big three.
But I'm just saying, neither one of them you ever really
Well,
got
we
a chance
did.
to
We
see
did
it.
actually. Yeah, what we saw was not pretty.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Those
at
three
least
together,
when
But we
the
knew
Brooklyn
that
Nets
wouldn't
big
be
three was
good.
together, it was
Brooklyn's
really good.
big three would have been right. And the thing is, as bad as Harden has looked this year, I should say as mediocre by his standards, that would have been fine for the Nets, Rob.
He would have fit
if they
in there.
were healthy and in good spirits, right? Because Kyrie could have been the scorer, Harden would have been the little point guard, and
Rob
KD
G,
would have done his
what was
thing.
their record when those three played? 13-3.
Oh, I mean,
They only
it
played
never
like-
even happened this season. So
They only played
yeah,
16 games together, Chris. In
I
the
believe
2
so.
years.
And I
Total,
think
right.
they had
16.
the highest offensive rating in NBA
Yeah, that
was
history.
crazy.
And then, just fell
But
off.
Harden was much better last year. He hasn't been the same. I don't know if it's related to the hamstring
He
or if
looks
he's just
terrible.
old.
I
But yeah,
just-
he's
he
just
looks
not the
terrible.
same.
Well, guys, here's the last trump card as to why the Nets were more disappointing. Because at least the Lakers had a championship in their back pocket to cushion the blow.
Oh, wow.
Just
Well,
saying.
That
I mean,
bubble
the
one.
Nets
you-
don't
still
have
counts.
one.
Still
The
counts.
Nets don't have one since the merger.
That's
So,
right.
a real talk.
Hey, the Nets are going to hang up that play-in tournament champion
Wow.
right there in Barclays Center.
There you go. There you go.